Hello good people of the internet, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who haven't been here before, hi, my name is Alma and I hope that you stick around. So I wear a lot of eyeshadow, both when I'm not at work, when I am at work, and because of that, it's only natural that I get some questions about eyeshadow. I get some questions about the looks that I do, and some customers say that they look very intricate, and then I tell them that no, it's actually very simple to achieve. When I start to list up all the brushes that I use, a lot of the customers are like, yeah, I'm good, I'm gonna stick to mascara. But then I reel them back in by saying that if you have these three brushes, you're good. And those set brushes are the ones from Fenty. These are so smooth and are so gentle on your lid, and you don't feel like your lid gets roughed up by these. The truth is, they are so super simple. I know that the internet flourishes with very intricate looks, very dramatic, very theatrical, very vogue. Does that say anything about how old I am? Yes, that can be daunting. But today, I thought I would make a very beginner-friendly guide to eyeshadow. If you saw my last video, which was a favorites video, and you made it through the entire video, you know that in the Fenty portion of that, there were some favorites that had to be cut. Today, I'm using a couple of those favorites that were cut, and those are the Sunstalker Face and Eye Highlighter Palette and the Fenty brushes. And this Sunstalker palette is also a very beginner-friendly eyeshadow palette. I actually sell it in as a eyeshadow palette to customers because you have the shades from light to dark, and then you have a couple of shimmer shades in the end. That's what I'm gonna do today. Step by step, I'm going to show you how I create this very elegant, wearable glam look that you can use on any occasion when you go out, when you go to dinner, if you want to glam it up every day, you name it. So if you want to know how to achieve such glam look and you want to follow this guide, then please keep on watching. For the purpose of this video, I've already done my base, but before we move on to the eyes, I like to set my face with some additional setting spray just to really make that eyeshadow stick to my lids. Then to really seal the deal, I like to take some extra powder and put that on my lids so I know that I have a dry, clean base. I know some people like a wet base and set their wet base with the eyeshadow, but I prefer the dry method. Then I'm gonna pull you in a little closer before we move on to the eyes. And we're starting off with the 210 Blending by Fenty Beauty. This is such a fluffy brush and it's not rough on your skin when you use it. And the first shade or bronzer we're gonna dip into is this one right here, which is called Private Island. As always, when I first apply eyeshadow, I like to stamp it on in the outer corner and I run it through the crease. And we just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just to blend out everything and just to really create that dimension in the crease. So the trick to apply eyeshadow is basically a lot of blending just to make it even and not have those harsh lines. Then I just wanted to show you how I do the other eye as well, because instead of those back and forth windshield wiper motions, I go in small circles instead, because this is my non-dominant side with my dominant hand. So the technique is a little different, but we want it to be even in the end. Then I also go on my lower lash line using the same technique on my right eye and the same technique on my left eye. And I always make sure to swipe it upwards, up towards my temple, so we don't get that droopy look. Then we use the same brush as we are dipping into Caramel Cutie. Now this time I'm moving my grip a little up the handle because this is going to be a more concentrated color. We're going to concentrate it even more in the outer corner before we drag it up through the crease. This is to create that extra depth that we want in a smoky eye. Then of course the same with this one, we also dragged that on our lower lash line and up towards the temple. Then again with the left eye, a little different technique, but it will be even in the end on both eyes. When I disappear out of frame like I am here, that is me picking up more product because it's easier to use a little product at a time instead of taking something away. So you can build this up as dark as you want it or as light as you want it. And of course we have to check that it's even. Then of course the same thing on the left lash line up towards the temple and also swooping it across the lid as well to make it seem seamless. Also, after every layer, if you will, I like to take the current brush that I'm using and go over any lines that I see and just make sure that it is even on both sides. When I do this too, I also change my grip, and this is to get the full range of motion. Now I'm switching out the brush to the 230 blending, also by Fenty Beauty. Now this is has a much shorter and denser bristles, and that is to get the more concentrated shadow on the outer corner. And we're dipping into Coco Naughty, and I've also changed my grip on this one. As you can see, I'm holding it closer to the bristles, and that is, like I said before, we want to concentrate it on the outer corner of our eye before we drag it through the crease line. And of course, you guessed it, we also dragged this on the lower lash line from the center and up towards the temple, and a little swoosh over the lid as well. And like I mentioned, you decide how dark you want to go. Here I'm just deepening it even more because I like myself a very smoky look, so that's why I'm building it up like this. You can of course stop there, but I'm not gonna. So this is the cream shader brush by Jessup. This is actually my secret weapon that I use to apply the highlighter shade on my mobile eyelid. And what I like to do is I like to dip the brush in the shade, and then I also take some setting spray and spritz it so it gets very, very metallic. And then I apply it from the inner corner of my eye, and I sort of stroke it up and out towards the temple. And I also sort of slightly cut the crease with it. To build up the shimmer is of course optional. I like to get my eyeshadow very, very metallic. And if I feel like the setting spray isn't really doing its job, I like to dip my finger into the eyeshadow and just make the shimmer pop even more. As far as technique goes, for the left eye, it is the exact same as the right eye. Then of course, again, dipping my finger into the eyeshadow to get a little more pigment on the lid. And by the way, the eyeshadow or the highlighter is Phat Glass. And voila, the look is done. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye. I am kidding. Of course we're not done. Come a little closer. Come back. So I'm gonna take this precision brush. This is the 220 brush by Fenty, and I'm going to dip that into thick mint because I want to deepen that outer corner, as this is supposed to be a smoky but wearable everyday look with a bit extra oomph. So how I do it is I take that thick mint shade and I wrap it around in my inner corner and around that shimmer shade that I put down. I'm also focusing this closest to the lash line before I work it up and through the crease like every other shade that I've used so far. Here you can also see the difference between the two eyes. It's very subtle but impactful, and of course we cannot forget the lower lash line with this shade either. Then I go back in with the 230 brush just to make sure that everything is well blended. Now back with the same brush, I dip into Caramel Cutie just to tie the entire look together. And that completes the actual look, so I'm just gonna pop on some mascara. Of course, you could stop there, but if you know anything about me now, it is that I will always find an excuse to pop on some lashes. And of course, we cannot forget the lips. And now, I'm not kidding this time, that completes the look. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, bye!